Just a quick warning, this video does contain spoilers for the entire MCU. Thank you for watching.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've been a little busy lately, so I haven't put up any new videos, but I finally got around to starting my MCU rewatch, starting with the first Iron Man. So this is going to be my review for the first Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, Iron Man.
In every generation, there is chosen one girl in all the world. She alone will review the movies, TV shows, and books of geek culture. I am the chosen girl.
So I haven't seen this movie in quite a bit, and I used to love it. I remember the first time I watched it was actually a bootleg copy that my dad got shortly after the movie came out, and I really enjoyed it. And it was kind of interesting to watch it now because it looks completely different of how it opens. It has the Paramount logo, it has a old Marvel logo, and I'm used to the more kind of modern Marvel logo, so it looks very different when it starts off. But it's really cool to kind of go back and see how the Marvel Cinematic Universe has progressed over the years. I've always remembered liking the Iron Man movie. It's still a really good origin story for the character of Tony Stark. So the movie starts off with the AC/DC song Back in Black, and then the movie ends with the Black Sabbath song titled Iron Man. And I kind of really like this rock and roll vibe that we have going. I know we get some more AC/DC later in Iron Man 2 and I think the first Avengers, and I kind of really missed that as being like kind of Iron Man's like theme music almost. Like we kind of lost that after Iron Man, after Avengers, I think. So I kind of wish we had that a little bit more. But I really like the opening here with Back in Black. It's a lot of fun, and it kind of just gets you going right into the action. We have a great introduction to Tony Stark in the convoy with the soldiers. He has some good banter with them. And then we kind of do a flashback, and we get this like montage video of how Tony Stark went from being a kid and the son of Howard Stark and how he evolved over the years. So it's kind of a quick way to catch us up to who Tony Stark is and what he's all about. And he's got this, kind of selfish, arrogant, playboy, gambling persona that, kind of carefree guy. And it really kind of highlights how he has changed. And of course we get Terrence Howard as Rhodey in this movie. Of course, he is replaced by Don Cheadle in every other movie after this one. And it's kind of interesting because I think Terrence Howard does an okay job here. I feel like the dialogue is still very similar to what Rhodey would say to Tony. I think the difference is Terrence Howard feels more like a military liaison and acquaintance rather than like Tony's best friend, which I think Don Cheadle and Robert Downey Jr. have better chemistry in that way, is that they feel like they're best friends. But I think Terrence Howard does a decent job in this first movie. We also get the voice of Jarvis here, played by Paul Bettany, who will obviously go on to be the Vision, but it's kind of cool just hearing his voice as Jarvis, because he kind of plays it very differently when he's in the Vision character. But I really like hearing the voice of Jarvis. And then of course Tony ends up in a cave and he has the shrapnel in his chest, and Jensen saves his life. And I really love the character of Jensen. He's only in this kind of one segment of the movie, but he's a really good character, and he kind of shows Tony the humanity and compassion that's in the world, and kind of sets Tony on this path to be a better person. And it's really sad, the reveal at the end, when he sacrifices himself, you find out that his family was already dead, and that he when he said he wanted to go be with them, he meant dying himself. And that's really sad, but I think it shows Tony that there's more important things to life than money and fame and being a playboy. Taking care of people and having family is important too. So I really love the character of Jensen. And then Tony builds his Mark I suit, and I kind of like the Mark I look. It's kind of big, little Iron Giant, but it's kind of cool. And I like that Tony says, it's only powered for 15 minutes. And then he starts flying in the air, and it powers down and he crashes, which I think that crash would probably kill him because that suit was like made of heavy metal. I really do like all of that sort of setup in the cave and everything. It shows how smart Tony is, how ingenious Tony is, the ingenuity that he has. He knows mechanics, he knows engineering, he knows how to build things. And there's a great line later on in the movie. Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps, right? It's like that's how smart Tony is. So it's a great scene. And then of course he gets back to America, and they say 3 months has passed, which the montage made it look like maybe a week or two, but apparently it's been 3 months. And then, of course, we kind of set up this romance with him and Pepper, and I really love Gwyneth Paltrow in this first movie, and I think she does great later on too, but she really is a good character, I think, in this first movie, in that she's conflicted about having maybe romantic feelings for Tony, but she's also really worried about him. And I like the line that she says, occasionally she has to take out the trash when she's getting rid of the reporter girl. So that's kind of funny. And of course, he's not really in it a lot, but we get the director, Jon Favreau, plays Happy Hogan. Then the villain is Obadiah Stane, played by Jeff Bridges. And I actually like Obadiah Stane as the villain. I think he comes off as a good kind of mentor to Tony, who's not quite Tony's peer, because he worked for Tony's father, Howard. They were more peers. Another thing is I do like the reveal Obadiah Stane being the villain, where he's like taking a picture with Tony, and he's like, I'm the one that filed the injunction against you. And I think it's a kind of a good turn, because we always kind of suspected something, but I really like that turn at the end. I think he's a decent villain. I think his motives aren't quite clear. And then even when he puts on the suit at the end, he says, I never wanted this, but now that I'm in here, it's kind of cool. So it's kind of like, well, what was he building the suit for? For like an army? Then why is he in the suit? And, why did he turn so quickly on Tony? But I do think his sort of personal relationship with Tony makes for a great villain character. I just think his motives were a bit unclear. And then, of course, we get the first appearance of Agent Coulson, who pops up all throughout the first phase of Marvel, the MCU Phase 1. And it's kind of cool that he shows up here and he's, keeps saying the acronym for S.H.I.E.L.D., and everybody tells him it's too long of a name. And then I kind of like that, Pepper and him kind of team up at the end, and it kind of is a good way to, Pepper is a good, she can do things too, right? Like Tony is, the face, the superhero, Pepper's the behind the scenes person, and so she, figured out she can get S.H.I.E.L.D. to help her with the Obadiah Stane problem. So I like all of that. And one of the things that I noticed on this rewatch is that Tony, during I think the press conference, is he actually mentions that he never got to say goodbye to his dad, which is obviously a recurring theme that we have throughout the MCU, is that Tony always regrets the relationship that he had with his father and wish it was better and wish he could have said goodbye. And I mean, we see that, in the Iron Man 2, we see that in Civil War, we see that in Endgame. And so I really like that they've already started that through line thread of Tony and his relationship with his father. That's here in the first Iron Man movie. And one thing that has always maybe kind of bothered me, and I'm not a medical professional, but Tony has Pepper like switch out his little arc reactor in his chest, and he has a hole in his chest. Like, this is bone right here. So I think Jensen cut out a hole in his chest, and I don't know how that affects your body or the organs underneath, or what's going on there. I would love an anatomy lesson for all the medical professionals out there who could tell me how that works. But like, she puts her whole freaking hand in his chest. To me, that's just like super crazy. And then of course he gets the surgery at the end of Iron Man 3. So like, do they fix that hole in his chest? I don't know. It's always something that's kind of bothered me a little bit. Is like, man has a hole in his chest. But yeah, I love that scene where Pepper switches it out and she's like super nervous and freaking out. And then of course she takes the old one and she puts it in the little display box that says proof that Tony Stark has a heart. I think that's beautiful. And then I believe that comes back in during his funeral at the end of Endgame also. So again, I really like the Tony Pepper relationship. I think they work well together. And yeah, she's kind of maybe just here to be the love interest, but she does a lot more than that. And I don't think Pepper and Gwyneth Paltrow get enough credit for the Tony Pepper relationship. And then of course the great thing about this movie is we get Tony Stark building his Iron Man suit. And I love the montage of him building the suit in his workshop and testing it out. And of course the joke with the dummy that won't use the fire extinguisher properly. All that's a lot of fun, and it really makes it feel like this Iron Man suit in this first movie could be real. It could be something that somebody made. Like, 'cause they show him and they show like all the mechanical stuff, and it has to be like assembled on him. And I really like that kind of like groundedness that they have in this first movie. That completely goes out the window in the other movies where it's just magic technology. But I really like that we see him building his suit in this first movie. That's a lot of fun, and it's a great montage scene. I also really like that Agent Coulson's like trying to cover everything up as Tony goes in this, on his adventures as Iron Man. Also, Rhodey, I'm not sure. I think Rhodey's in the Air Force, but I'm not sure. I think they say he's a colonel. I'm not sure exactly what he does in the military, but apparently he can just pop up into these military rooms and tell people, "Don't worry, don't shoot at Tony. It's just a training exercise," and they just listen to him. So I'm not sure exactly how that works, but it's kind of good that Tony has this military friend that can kind of cover up for him. So, everybody's trying to cover up Tony as being the Iron Man, and then of course the end of the movie, he just comes out and says, "No, I am the Iron Man," which is a great ending. This movie also has a lot of great one-liners, some of the best in the MCU. Obviously, Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps is a great line. So there's a lot of good one-liners in this movie that I really like, and that kind of have stuck with. I think we forget that it came from the first Iron Man movie. It's just kind of like things that we think of when we think of Iron Man and Tony Stark, and it's all right here in this first movie. So also this movie does introduce us to the Ten Rings organization. Now it has the Ten Rings logo, but it's in the, I believe, Arabic symbols, and then of course later we learn that the Ten Rings is the organization by Shang-Chi's dad, Wen Wu, who was never called the Mandarin, really. And then we get the new Ten Rings logo with the Chinese characters, which we also see in one of the episodes of Ms. Marvel. So the Ten Rings have always been around, and I just assume that this is like a branch, like that Shang-Chi's father has like branches of the Ten Rings all over the world, and I just assume that like this is like the Middle Eastern branch of the Ten Rings. Also, the portrayal of the Middle East is not great in this, but I don't want to get into politics or anything. You just kind of have to remember the mind frame of where the world was when this movie made. You have to take movies in the context of which they were made, and it's not great, but that's what it was. And they're okay kind of little villains. They do their job of getting Tony Stark to turn into Iron Man, so they're okay. I think Obadiah Stane, the reveal that he's working with them was kind of a little weird, but again, this movie has some problems. It mainly revolves around the villains. Everything with Tony, everything with Pepper, Rhodey, Agent Coulson, all that stuff I think is great. It's all great setup and characterization for Tony Stark going forward. And of course we get the first Marvel end credit scene also, which I really never had seen before, like in the context of the movie, so this was kind of fun. We get the appearance of Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. So that's a lot of fun, and of course we know where that leads to. So, all in all, I think Iron Man's a good movie. It still holds up as a part of the MCU. It's a great first outing, introduction to Iron Man, to Tony Stark. So, yeah, I really like this movie, and it's definitely a good watch. I don't know where it would rank right now in the MCU, but it's probably up there, and I think a lot of people probably have the first Iron Man. They probably hold in high regards also, so that's it for my thoughts on the first Iron Man movie. Stay tuned to the channel. I'll be reviewing all of the MCU movies eventually. And then, of course, She-Hulk's coming out soon. So I'll be doing episode reviews for the new She-Hulk show. So stay tuned to the channel for all of that. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. What were your thoughts? Do you love Iron Man? Do you not like Iron Man? Do you think it's somewhere in the middle? Let me know what you guys are thinking. So, as always, stay tuned to the channel. Thank you, everybody, and have a good day.